So, good evening. In the last class, we have completed about cost audit and secretarial audit. In the current class, we will discuss about audit report. Majorly, audit report, its contents, audit opinion, different types of audit opinion. Actually, in the between, I have left one chapter regarding audit of elements of financial statements that we will cover in the later part. 7.4. We will cover in the next class. First, we will cover. There are small three topics: 7.5, 7.6, 7.7. After that, we will cover 7.4 because it is connected with the next coming chapter also. Each chapter also they will be connected. Audit of different institutions, so it will be connected. Okay. So let us cover 7.5 first. So what we have discussed in our earlier classes is about auditor. His duties of auditor is to express an opinion. How we will express an opinion? Through audit report. So this audit report, how he has to issue audit report, what are the contents he has to issue. In also in our earlier classes we have discussed auditor has to report on certain items under 143 subsection 3. There are certain items which auditor has to report. What are they also become the contents of audit report. And also in addition, if there are certain limits, if auditor has satisfied, then he has to issue CARO report also. He has to include CARO also. CARO list of items also he has to report on the items specified in CARO. The list of items specified in CARO, he has to mention whether those elements have been appropriately maintained by the company or not. Example, intangible assets, non-current assets, inventory, and also cash losses, unrecorded income, whether based on the situation applicability, whether they have been appropriately treated in books of accounts or not, that auditor has to disclose in his audit report. So let us, with this brief, let us go what the auditor has, audit report and its content. So what auditor will issue opinion. Opinion, matlab, he will give reasonable assurance. Through opinion, he will give reasonable assurance. Because of this, we will call the auditor opinion. The report will be the opinion through which the auditor expresses his opinion is called audit report. It becomes. It is not called audit certificate. Because of this reasonable assurance, the word opinion arises and the word certificate does not arise, the word report arises. Let us go and see what is audit report and auditor certificate. What is the difference between audit report and audit certificate? First, let us see the definition of audit certificate. Audit certificate means written confirmation of exactness of facts. While auditing, can you confirm the facts in the financial statement, the figures stated in the financial statement? You can obtain only reasonable assurance because you will do test audit, test based audit. You will do audit based on sampling. You cannot obtain absolute assurance. You can only obtain reasonable assurance, because of which you cannot confirm the exactness. There is no fraud you cannot certify because you are not doing complete audit. You are doing only test audit, so that you can give only reasonable assurance. So in certificate you will obtain exactness of the facts. You will conformly determine that yes, this is 1 lakh. You will do in-depth thorough checking in such a way that you will establish the fact that yes, the sales are 1 lakh. But in our case, in audit, what we will do, we will go on materiality. Based on materiality, you will do test audit. If the area is material, if the controls are good, you will go for test audit and you will do sampling checking. And if you don't find any errors during sampling audit, you will give reasonable assurance on it that it is reflecting true and fair view. Okay? You will not give exactness of the facts. You cannot establish it actually during the audit. So, when the auditor certifies, a statement implies the contents. If an auditor gives audit certificate, it implies that the facts, the contents in the statement are measurable and he has verified the accuracy. Sometimes there are some estimates in the financials where you cannot exactly measure those. Estimate matlab you cannot determine the exactness. You can give only the approximate value. Then only you can call it as estimate. If you can measure exactly, you will not call it as an estimate. There are some accounting estimates. So you can express through your opinion only. You cannot certify that. So that is why there is a difference between audit certificate and audit report. There are issues arising in GST audit also, because in the GST audit 9C they will mention here that I certify that. The line itself makes that the overall audit, GST audit that an auditor has done, he is certifying it. Because of this, auditor cannot establish, because auditor will check there is no material difference in discharge of liability during the verification of those. Which itself makes the auditor fear of some issues. That is why the GST audit is later on removed. So this is the difference between audit report and audit certificate, because of which the difference is being coming. So basic understanding you got, right? Audit report, why we call it as audit report, why not audit certificate? The issue of audit report, the financial statements opinion you are expressing, you are calling it as audit report, not audit certificate. Why? The background of the reason is this all reasons accumulated, we call it as audit report, not audit certificate. Through report you will express opinion. Through certificate you will confirm facts. So that is what it is mentioned here. I think a brief understanding you got. Audit report is a document where standard format we will later on see that auditor expresses his opinion regarding the reliability and correctness of financial statements. You will give reliableness, matlab, to the extent my verification is, they looks fine for me. To the best of my, as a chartered accountant, with all my knowledge, I have verified those financials, and to my knowledge, they are looking true and fair. They are looking okay. There is no material adjustment found by me. So in audit certificate, if you write that there is no material misstatement found, there should be zero material misstatement. That means, so in that case you cannot tell there are zero material misstatement, because you will do test audit, because of which you cannot certify in this case. So in a certificate you will confirm the accuracy of facts stated therein. Audit, expression of opinion about financial statement, confirmation of correctness and accuracy of facts. The audit report is based on assumptions and estimations. You will always, accounts are prepared on estimation and assumptions. You will test those assumptions and estimations. So you will go, your audit report is based on always your assumptions and estimations. So, but certificate you cannot do like that. You cannot give based on assumption or estimation. If you have certified it, the auditor as an auditor, you need to ensure that the figures, those are quoted in that, are accurately measured, not approximately measured. This is why the case where the word using auditor report and auditor certificate comes. If you are issuing certificate, you need to ensure as an auditor that the underlying facts are true and correct. If you are issuing your opinion on it, you can give true and fair view. Okay? And audit report, in case of audit, your scope will be large, and your opinion is that you give is constructive, matlab in a positive tone. Here there is no relevance for constructive. If the item reflects material misstatements, you will give material. If the item reflects, but here you will give overall opinion on the financials. If there are no major material misstatements in a particular area, you will give overall opinion. You will give constructive, like the financial statements will give true and fair view as on the date, the state of affairs on the balance sheet. But here, while certifying, you will give a particular area, this area, trade receivables certificate if you issue. Trade receivables for the debtor certificate. If you are certifying debtors, you will check sales, whether the sale has been made or not. You will verify those. You will verify whether any payments relating to that sale are received from the debtor or not. Then you will certify the balance. Yes, this much outstanding is present as on the particular date. After making all the calculation, after obtaining your due diligence from the customers, after obtaining your external confirmation, then you will confirm that yes, the balance is correct. After verifying all the procedures. But here you will check the debtors, but you will check material debtors. You will leave those debtors which have small value. So that here you will check all the debtors. That's the case. Audit report? No, audit certificate. Auditor certificate. No, it is not audit certificate. You will never issue an audit certificate. That is the main. When you do statutory audit, you will always issue auditor's report. Audit certificate is certain cases you will issue where there are trade receivable certificate I just mentioned. In the cases where you will go for bank loans, they will ask for trade receivable certificate. When you are discounting your bills, when you are OD, you can speak. They will ask for your receivables and inventory certificate. Inventory certificate, you can check the inventory, you can check the purchase invoices. After all that, you will certify that inventory. You will physically verify the inventory, you will check the invoices, purchase invoices. After confirming that it is in stock and it is in, you have purchased the bill, then you will certify that the inventory is lying as on the particular date you are certifying. In all the cases, you can verify the exactness of the value. By valuation, you can determine the exactness. But in some cases, you cannot determine you can only determine approximate value. In those cases, you need to issue report. In cases where you can certify the exact value, generally auditor will fear to issue audit certificate because he will always go on test-based audit. Whenever the financial statements, he will go on opinion only. Because it is riskless to the auditor. Certificate is never mandatory. It is depending on the client request we will issue certificate. But what is mandatory is to issue or to express your opinion through audit report as per the statute. You have to express your opinion. Your opinion you will express through report only. Whenever you express your opinion, it will become report. Whenever you certify something because it is exactly correct, then it comes auditor certificate. Your opinion will come under audit report only. Whenever you will issue your opinion. You got the fact right. Here you will express your opinion. You will certify a fact. The difference you need to understand. This, in majority of the cases, it will not arise. In some irregular, at the request of the client, it might come. Normally, in case of audit, you will issue audit report only. Okay. In all the cases, the report scope of audit is large here. Because the report cover all the areas. Here it is limited. You will cover, like I mentioned, trade receivable, a particular area, inventory, a particular area. Like that, they will issue. The scope is limited. Whenever you will issue certificate, the scope will be limited. Based on facts and assumptions and estimation, audit report is always based on. So there will be some facts. I don't say there are all assumptions and estimations. There will be some facts, some assumptions and estimations, on which you will issue audit report. But here you will only consider actual figures, based on which you will not go for assumptions. Audit report. You cannot guarantee the accuracy of financials. I already said you will go on materiality basis. So here you cannot guarantee on accuracy of financials. You can guarantee only to the material extent they are not misstated. Got it? You have verified all material items and there is no misstatement in that. You have not found any material misstatement in that. But here audit certificate, if you are giving your actualness, you are confirming. Then you have verified all the line items, then only you can confirm the actualness. So here there should not, you can give the guarantee that all the facts contained therein are correct and there is no material misstatement. That is what. The report submitted to appointing order, certificate is issued as and when required. This is optional. You got it right? As and when required. This is issued to appointing authority. Liability of the auditor, it is not correct. See, here if you are issuing a report, if you are not done your job, matlab your duties negligently, you have maintained your due diligence, you have done your audit in accordance with standards on auditing, you have maintained proper documentation that you can prove you have done your audit in accordance with standards on auditing, then you are not negligent of your duty, you are not liable. But in the audit report, you have certified that, you have confirmed everything is true and correct. Then if any, afterwards, if anything is come, that someone has found that what you have certified is wrong, then you are liable based on the certificate. I already told in the prospectus, if auditor has certified any of the financial line items that they are in the prospectus, and if anyone has suffered loss, then arises liability of auditor. Okay? Format, audit report, there is a prescribed format if statute prescribes. If not, if it is not under statute, the agreement between the both the client and the auditor. Audit certificate, there is no prescribed format, depending on the situation they can give. So these are the, what are the 5 points actually majorly we have discussed. What are the 5 points? A definition. Here you will confirm audit opinion is expressed based on assumptions and estimations. Here it is based on facts. Here you are expressing opinion. Here you are confirming facts. Here the scope is large. Here it is limited. It is constructive dialogue. Here you will use constructive dialogue. Here there is no scope for constructive dialogue. Constructive, you will use positive tone. All the areas are correct except these two. Here you will not give whatever area you are auditing, you will directly give this area, not reflecting to this area. It is reflecting to unfairly. You will give that. Here it will be prescribed format. Here there is no prescribed format. And liability of the auditor. Report is submitted on timely basis. Report should be submitted on timely basis. It is as and when required. Next, how as per your as your understanding, you are an auditor. Let us assume you are expressing an opinion. How your users will expect you to express an opinion? They are like layman. They are using your audit report. So your audit report should be simple, in a simple language. First your simple language. Okay? It should be easily understandable. Okay? And you should have conducted with an objective, without any bias. They will expect, right? This is without any bias. Your audit should be unbiased. Unbiased audit you have conducted. And simple understanding, it would be clear. It should not be vague. Whatever you are expressing should not be vague. And it should contain all information. Whatever, on what basis you are expressing, it should contain all facts and figures of your information. So let us check. Simplicity. It should be simple and easily understandable. With all these factors, you just read this. Whatever you are doing, your client expectation should be, as a layman, he should simply understand it. Simple and understandable. Then your report is of good quality. Then it should be clear and unambiguous. Whatever opinion you are expressing, it should be clear. This opinion should not be clear vague. You are telling it is correct. I found some misstatements. It is, you identified, right? Example, it is correct. There are misstatements. Is it giving a clear opinion for you? You are telling it is correct, but you are again telling it is vague, right? So that is why you should clear and ambiguous. And whatever you are telling, you should clear and concise. The main point is concise, brief and specific. Whatever you are telling, you should be brief and specific. You should be straightforward. Firmness, whatever you are expressing, you should not round it. You should be straightforward, clear, and you should straight to the point. Whatever you are expressing should be straight to the point. This happened, that is. You cannot write stories on your audit report because it is limited pages. You should mention brief and concise. Objectivity, I already told. Whatever the client expectation is, that you have conducted your audit without any bias. That you have to maintain and disclose the same in your audit report. Impartiality, the same. Disclosure. You should disclose all the facts and figures that you have obtained so that it gives better understanding of your report. That is what. Timeliness, ultimately within stipulated time. Whenever you are issuing a report, if you issue, the timely information will only useful for the users. Any information we have discussed, whenever you are determining any control or system, it should give timely information so that the decisions will be helpful in future. So whenever you are issuing a report, you should be issued in a stipulated time that the users get full use of it. So contents of audit report. I already told you. Auditor, as per if any statute is applicable, he will conduct as per the statute. Audit he will be conducting as per the statute. One thing. The statute might determine. And next he will conduct as per standards on auditing, as per the requirement of standards. Then if CARO is applicable, then you have to comply with the requirements of CARO 2020. These are the three which forms your contents of audit report. So what are your contents? As per example, we are discussing about companies audit. We will discuss what are the contents of audit report for companies, basically. Okay. So we already discussed the auditor should express an opinion what he has audited. So whether to the best of his knowledge the financial statement reflect true and fair view or not, he has to inquire and he has to report on it, whether they are reflecting true and fair view or not. That is in accordance with 143 subsection 2. This is one we have read earlier. And 143, this auditor has to audit and he has to report on these matters, whether what are those matters, whether he has obtained all the information from the entity or not. If there is a branch audit, whether proper returns have been received from the branch or not. If branch auditor has audited the another branch auditor has audited the branch, whether how he has received the report, how he has dealt in his report, and whether profit and loss account and the balance sheet are agreeing or not, whether they have been prepared in accordance with GAAP or not, whether in his opinion financial statements comply with accounting standards or not, whether the observations of the transactions, financial matters which have, there are negative comments on the functioning of the entity. He has, while auditing, he will different areas of the audit, different controls he will see. Any areas or any actions of the company which have negative impact, adverse effect on functioning of the entity. He has identified any of such actions or not, any of the such process. The functioning of the entity in such a way that it affects the adversely to the company. And whether any directors are disqualified or not. Any directors have been disqualified. If any person, as an auditor, if you are disqualified, you should be resigned from your office. Likewise, director should resign. He should not continue if he is disqualified. If any director is disqualified and if he still continue, it is non-compliant with the provisions of Companies Act. Like whether any adverse, if he has while observing and reporting on all these areas, if he has any adverse comment, if he has given, I didn't found the balance sheet and profit and loss not agreeing with the financial statements are not prepared in accordance with the accounting standards, then he has to maintain proper reasons for his qualification and adverse remark. Then he has to report on internal financial IFCs or financial reporting, whether such controls are functioning in place and functioning effectively or not. In addition to this, there are 4 more points which we have discussed, like dividend has been transferred within the period, stipulated period or not, unpaid dividend, whether has been investor education fund. And one more point, audit trail, whether the company using software, accounting software has been inbuilt audit trail or not, whether it has not tampered, it has been maintained throughout the period or not. And also we have discussed this pending litigations on the financial position of the company, whether there are any pending litigations that affect the financial position of the company, upcoming pending litigations, they will future affect the going concern of the company. Likewise, any are there that might affect the financial of company, of any long-term contracts in which you might have derivative contracts which the company might incur foreseeable losses. You have entered into derivative contract where you thought that dollar price might decrease, and you have taken selling now. But unfortunately, the dollar price is rising depending on the market situations now. Then you will be under loss because you are selling at 100 rupees while the market price is now at 120 rupees. So any foreseeable losses or not. And transferring account are be discussed here in the investor education and protection fund. Whether any unpaid dividend for a period of 7 years, it should be transferred to investor education and protection fund. Whether there has been delay in transferring the amount or not. And there is also two more points. I think I have missed it. Okay. Whether we have two more points also we have covered actually. See, this we have missed. As an auditor, if you are coming across any fraud, you need to intimate to central government if it is more than 1 crore. You need to file ADT4 to intimate to central government. Whether such fraud has been noticed, you need to report in your audit report as per 143.12. And in case of government company, this is a special edition. Whether C&AG has issued any directions and how the directions has been considered, how the accounts has been, the impact of the accounts and financial statements have been treated. That you have to consider. And in addition to all this, we have discussed with three more points regarding cycling of funds. Whether you as in a company, you are involved in cycling of funds. You are giving funds to a company in Mauritius so that the ultimate beneficiary will receive those benefit of loans. Whether you being an intermediary, you are receiving funds and giving benefit to the beneficiaries. This is also as a part of this you need to report in your audit report. This is the, as per Companies Act, these are the reporting requirements that auditor need to include in his audit report. In addition to this, as per standards, there are some standards requiring going concern. If you are auditing, the standard might require you to include a line if there is any upcoming, like how can I say, period, or what we call it as period after audit report, items impacting after audit report, any changes in the financial statement. That suppose there is a fire, if the fire is as on date, you have taken insurance, and if there is a big fire and that affects the financial position as on the balance sheet, that you need to change that. You will study on case law that there are some ex limited companies there. They want to construct a big dam, but underlying there is a whole rocky surface. The example is that but while planning they have created an expense of 100 crores, but after the date of financial balance sheet date on 31st May, they came to know that there are some rocks on it. Now the expenditure will go to 200 CR. Out of 100, the expenditure, because to construct the dam, you need to remove the rocks also. So your expenditure will go to 200 CR. Then these facts you don't know on the facts you came to know on after the balance sheet date. You don't know on the, but the rocks were lying on those balance sheet dates. The information is available on the date, but you don't know that. Since the information is available on the date, you will do adjustment for this. Items occurring after adjusting item, non-adjustment item, events occurring after balance sheet date. These are all called events occurring after balance sheet date. So any such events are there that were occurring after those should be disclosed in other matter paragraph. Is ऐसे सच केसेस कुछ है क्या, अदर मैटर पैराग्राफ क्या है वो हम बाद में डिस्कस करते हैं। अदर मैटर पैराग्राफ, एम्फसिस ऑफ मैटर पैराग्राफ, की ऑडिट मैटर्स, ये सारा हम ऑडिट रिपोर्ट का एलिमेंट्स में डिस्कस करते हैं। ऐसा कुछ चीज है क्या वो हम डिस्कस करते हैं। किधर title. So basic elements of contents of audit report. So while issuing the report, the format that has been provided by the standard SA 700. This you have to remember. SA 700, forming an opinion and reporting on financial statements. As per SA 700, the basic elements of audit report are, first of all, you need to mention title. What you will mention as a title? Independent auditor's report. You will mention as a title. That is common title. Next, addressee. Who will be an auditor issuing his report? To the members, to shareholders, members of the company, who is nothing but. So the auditor will issue appropriately addressed as per the engagement. If he is issuing, if he is issuing to the proprietor, to XYZ and Co. If he is issuing to a company, to lots of members, appropriate authority. For example, public limited company, the auditor will be addressed to members, that is shareholders. Depending on the engagement, you will issue. Then it comes with auditor opinion. Then the next part is auditor opinion. What is auditor opinion? Auditor opinion will be 4 types. It will be classified. We have discussed in the first class. What are the different types of auditor's opinion? You will issue unmodified opinion. Either you will issue unmodified opinion or you will issue modified opinion. Modified opinion again classified into 3 types. You will issue qualified opinion, you will issue adverse opinion, you will issue disclaimer of opinion. Either of these opinions you may express in your audit report. How these opinions are expressed we will discuss in the next upcoming. Actually it was discussed in the next topic. When you are, I will discuss here itself. If you are auditing a area, if you didn't find any financial misstatements, likewise you have audited every area and the financial statements are reflecting true and fair view, everything is correct, no material misstatement in any particular area, that you can qualify the report. There is no material misstatement found. The financial statements prepared are in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework. Every accounting treatment is being properly, internal financial controls, सब कुछ ठीक है. Then you will express unmodified. You will not modify. Normal opinion is true and fair view, good opinion. Unmodified, the opinion is not modified. So normally you will issue unmodified opinion. You have no need. The financial statements are reflecting true and fair view. When you modify your opinion, means suppose you are auditing trade receivables, you have identified some misstatements. In this particular area only, you have identified misstatements. Rest of the financial elements, all assets, liabilities, loans, सब कुछ ठीक आपके लिए. Then you will do for this particular area, except for this particular area, rest of the financial statements reflect true and fair view. Then it is called qualified. You are making qualification for this particular line item. You are making qualification, qualifying this particular area. You are particularly qualifying. This is called qualified opinion. You are expressing a qualification with respect to this. This area is have some material misstatements. It is not reflecting true and fair view. Okay. Rest of the financial statements, except trade receivables, we have found no material misstatements. ऐसा opinion express करेगा. Depending on which there are no material misstatement, you are qualifying this particular area. Likewise, you have given some audit details, but you are unable to obtain whether the area is reflecting true and fair view or not. Rest of the areas you have obtained true and fair view audit evidence, you have obtained evidence, you have evaluated and you have satisfied that they are reflecting true and fair view. For this particular area, you have identified and they are material misstatement. One case, you have unable to obtain unable to obtain audit evidence. How can you confirm whether the area is materially misstated or not? You cannot confirm. But since this is only one particular area, you will qualify that except trade receivables where we are unable to obtain, rest of the financial statements reflect true and fair view. You will qualify if that is a particular area, you will qualify. If that is spread over different areas, okay, you have checked, right? If this is misstated, assets are misstated, liabilities are misstated, loans are pura misstatements hai, then you will express adverse opinion. You will give your opinion. You have to express your opinion. That is your obligation. What you will express is what? If you are, there are two cases here. If you are for one particular item, that is called not pervasive, not spread across different line items, different areas of financial statement, not pervasive. If your material misstatements of not pervasive, or you are not able to obtain for particular area, not able to obtain audit evidence for particular area, then you will express qualified opinion. If you are able to obtain audit evidence, but it reflects material misstatements which are pervasive, the material misstatements are spread across different line items, trade receivables, trade payables, assets, liabilities. Pervasive matlab spread across different line items. All are materially misstated. Then why will you give qualified opinion? You will give adverse. The total financial statements are materially misstated. Qualified when you will give एक particular area mistake हुआ है, तब you will accept this area. Rest of the things are good. But if all are materially misstated, you will go for adverse opinion. That is one particular area. If that one particular area, if you leave it, the rest are good. Because of that one particular area, you cannot, you are mentioning the same fact itself, that this one particular area we are unable to obtain a reasonable assurance. Because of the, we are unable to obtain a reasonable assurance, we will mention that except this particular area, rest of the financial statements we have obtained financial reasonable assurance and they are reflecting true and fair value. What we have mentioned is that our wording will be clear, as because of the, if at all some inspector or some external factors, statutory authorities ask us to recheck, obtain sufficient evidence. If the client is not providing, I already mentioned, the next itself, you have taken audit, the client is not providing any information, you are not able to do, you cannot, if you cannot opinion on any of the financial items, you are unable to obtain reasonable assurance, then you will go for disclaimer of opinion. If you are not able to obtain whole on the financials, any element of the financials or max of the elements of financials, you have obtained only relating to assets, you have obtained some reasonable assurance. Liabilities, accounts payable, accounts receivable, the client is not providing any information to you, then how you will discharge your liability? We have, depending on the circumstances, we are unable to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. We are expressing disclaimer of opinion. You will mention in your audit report the reasons for the disclaimer. The client has not provided insufficient information, has been submitted from the client. Whatever it is, you will mention from your end. You will close. It is client responsibility to provide you with all the information, whatever we have discussed earlier. It is the management responsibility to provide you, facilitate you with all the information, access to inquiries, perform inquiries and support to perform audit. That is the audit committee responsibility also, to conduct a smooth functioning of an audit. So if at all the client itself is not cooperating with you, you will express your disclaimer of opinion and you close it. These are the three circumstances I want to mention. Let me first disclose that and I will go to this. Audit opinion. See, when an auditor will express unmodified opinion, when an auditor will express modified opinion. When the audit report is unmodified, is also known as clean report or unqualified report. Unqualified, matlab there are no qualification. All areas have been reflecting true and fair view. In case of unmodified opinion. See, when you will issue unmodified opinion, the financial statements have been prepared in accordance with generally accepted principles, comply with statutory requirements and regulations. There are adequate disclosure of material, relevant material line items properly presented in the financial statement. Any changes in the accounting, any changes in accounting methodology being used, to disclose the impact in the notes to accounts. Why the change has been made during the year. Whatever we do, we need to follow consistently. If there is any change in accounting policy or accounting method being followed, there should be proper reason, or there should be a change in new accounting standard which requests us to do like this. Like India is 116 instead of India is 70, new standard has come. It has requested us to do as discounting of lease liability. Likewise, if there are changes in the accounting, application of accounting methods, you need to disclose the properly determined. The effects of those changes have been properly disclosed, determined and disclosed in the financial statement. Then, if all the things have been generally accepted, accounting standards they have been prepared reflecting true and fair view, all the statutory requirements and regulations have been completed, then you will issue unmodified opinion. But see, if modified opinion, while forming an opinion, when you will issue modified opinion in two circumstances, concludes that audit evidence obtained that you will modify your opinion on two circumstances, where when there are material misstatements, when you are unable to, as an auditor, you are unable to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit. In those circumstances, you will modify your opinion depending on the implications of your, if material misstatements are pervasive. See, the context meaning of pervasive is mentioned here. Describes the effects of financial statements, possible effects, pervasive, on auditor's judgment. If it is spread over different line item of financial statements, if it is affecting different assertions, then it is spread over different various areas of the financial elements. Then you will give disclaimer, adverse opinion. The material statements are pervasive. Thus was mentioned in the table. In the short table, will give you overall view of what opinion will be expressing. If the financial statements are materially misstated, material but not pervasive, that they are material. Misstatements are material, but they are not spread across different lines, you will give qualified opinion. Okay. If they are material as well as pervasive, they are spread across different line items, then you will give adverse opinion. If inability to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, after following all the procedures, we can tell that we have performed all the procedures, and client has also supported. Being honest, client has also supported. It is not also his mistake. But after performing all the procedures, you are unable to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit. You are feeling unsatisfied. What will you do? The financial statements, I am unable to confirm that financial statements are reflecting true and fair view. Even after performing all the, as per the standard, I have performed all the procedures. Then I will go, if it is not relating to particular, inability to obtain, if it is not pervasive, here material का issue नहीं आता है, here pervasive का issue देखिए. If it is not spread across all the line items, that is one particular area I am unable to obtain, then I will give qualified opinion relating to that particular area. If I am pervasive, if I am unable to obtain, if it is pervasive, the audit evidence inability to obtain is spread across different elements. I am unable to obtain, or my inability has been different elements, assets, liabilities. Then I will give disclaimer of opinion. The same has been mentioned if you read this. Just read this. In case of qualified opinion, it is an example, the auditor expressed qualified opinion when auditor have obtained sufficient and appropriate audit and concludes that either are individually materially misstated but not pervasive, not highly significant. It is not spread over in the context used, pervasive. It is not मतलब overall एक area ही mistake हुआ है, सारा areas ठीक है. If it is like that, then you will give qualified opinion. If as an auditor he is unable, he has obtained sufficient appropriate evidence to base his opinion, but conclude that possible effects of undetected misstatements could be material and pervasive. Sorry, he is unable to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidence. But the possible effects of the undetected misstatement material but not pervasive. वो क्या बोल रहे हैं कि उसका डाउट है, उसको तो एक डाउट है कि मुझे सफिशिएंट अप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंस मिला नहीं अभी तक. उसका और एक डाउट है कि कैनॉट कंफर्मली से दैट there are no misstatements. He has doubt that there are some misstatements. The possibility of undetected misstatement that could be, they can be क्या हो सकते हैं material, but they are restricted to one particular area. And if we disclose that this area, except this area, rest of the things are fine, it will become qualified opinion. That is what. This is the statements if you have to by heart and write in your, while if they have questioned you what is qualified opinion, these are the lines you have to mention. Same, these lines you repeat. If material here but not pervasive में but unpervasive आएगा, then you will issue adverse opinion. Here unable to obtain sufficient and to base his opinion but concludes that here material and pervasive आएगा, you will give disclaimer of opinion. You can see financial statements basis of opinion. See, individually and both are material and pervasive, then you will issue adverse opinion. Disclaimer of opinion. Auditor possible effects of material and pervasive, then you will issue disclaimer of opinion. Examples have been given. Some situations where going concern after planning cease the operations within next 6 months. You are unable to. Auditor express adverse opinion. If you are prepared your financials on going concern basis, but it is looking like that prepared on going concern even after planning to cease the operations. The management is planning to cease the operations. If you are planning to cease the operations on within 6 months, on what basis you need to prepare? Realizable value basis, the financial statement. You cannot use going concern assumption if you are going to cease your operations. So here using going concern basic accounting assumption itself is wrong. So you will go for adverse opinion. So disclaimer of opinion. See, one situation. Management has prevented auditor from obtaining physical audit evidence, inventory, performing other audit procedure, external account balance, non-receipt of branch audit reports. He has been restricted from doing audit. He is unable to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence regarding inventory or regarding branches. Then how? He can express in disclaimer of opinion based on the facts. Deciding the appropriate modified opinion will be based on this table. You can decide. I think it is clear opinion. So next. So what are the contents of audit report? Title, auditor opinion. So different types of opinion we just see. You will mention in the auditor opinion whatever opinion he will issue. You will mention the opinion. We are expressing qualified opinion. We are expressing on the true one. In his opinion, and also he will mention the title of each financial statement audited, that we have audited profit and loss account for the period, balance sheet as on date, cash flow statement for the period. He will mention, all the financial statements they have audited along with the period for which they have been audited in his audit report in the auditor opinion paragraph. Then basis of opinion. In basis of opinion, basis, the name itself, basis of opinion. On what basis you are expressing the opinion. First you have conducted your audit in accordance with standards on auditing. That the main statement itself, that we have conducted an audit in accordance with standards, we will mention it. Then refer to the section of auditor responsibilities of auditing. We will refer that section in the audit report. As per the standard, we have to disclose management responsibilities and auditor responsibilities as a part of audit. So we will give reference to the where auditor responsibilities have been mentioned as per standards on auditing, including a statement that auditor, we have conducted audit in accordance as an independent audit we have conducted. We will mention, including a statement that auditor is an independent entity in accordance with relevant requirements and have fulfilled our ethical responsibility. We have ethical responsibilities, whatever the integrity, objectivity, professional competence or due care, professional judgment, professional skepticism, whatever the ethical responsibilities, principles governing audit, ethical independence, confidentiality, all those we have complied. We have independent, we have maintained our independence throughout the audit. We have to mention that as an while expressing opinion. And that auditor believes that all the evidences obtained have been sufficient and is appropriate basis for his opinion. That the 4 points that have been mentioned. Then going concern assumption. As per SCA 570, going concern. Auditor, based on while auditing, he will check some factors. As per SCA 570, he will check primary factors, secondary factors and other factors. Where he will check indicators, especially whether there are any threat to going concern of the entity. He will check whether there are any cash flows, financial factors. He will ensure that any company is unable to pay loans or not. All those factors he will check whether, if at all the factors it is satisfying, then there is no threat for going concern of the entity. If there are any threats, he will discuss with the management and he will resolve how how you are planning to resolve this threat that coming, it will affect your going concern, how you are planning. Then after that, after auditor is satisfied, then he will resolve that the financials have been prepared. There is no factors that are affecting going concern assumption. We haven't found any such factors. The financials have been reflected true and fair in accordance with. And key audit matters. What are key audit matters? These are key audit matters is nothing but management or auditors sometimes make some important discussions, which helps the auditor in understanding the management intentions of doing the acts or future plans. That is the same while auditor will disclose in the key audit matters from the discussions between, he will, based on his professional judgment, he will decide in the auditor's professional judgment, these are the matters in the one of most significant for the users of financial statements to understand the audit report. Audit report और ऑडिट फिनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स अंडरस्टैंड करने के लिए, ऑडिट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट समझने के लिए जो डिस्कशन जरूरी है उसको की ऑडिट मैटर में डिस्क्लोज करेगा. उसमें कुछ होता है लॉ ऑब्लिगेशन की वजह से डिस्क्लोज करता है, स्टैट्यूटरी सी फॉर इंस्टेंस वैल्यूएशन ऑफ गुडविल एंड अदर लॉन्ग टर्म एसेट्स, लॉ रेगुलेशन में रिक्वायर कम्युनिकेशन ऑफ दोस की ऑडिट मैटर्स. कुछ लॉ रेगुलेशंस अगर कुछ डिस्क्लोज किया है, ये डिस्क्लोज करना है, वो डिस्क्लोज करेगा. एंड कुछ पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट के लिए डिस्क्लोज करते हैं. एडिशनली ऑडिटर में आल्सो डिसाइड एंड कम्युनिकेट सम की ऑडिट मैटर्स बेस्ड ऑन द पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट हु आर ऑफ सिग्निफिकेंट पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट. दोनों में से वो डिसाइड करेगा ये चीज सिग्निफिकेंट है या नहीं, यूजिंग हिज प्रोफेशनल जजमेंट. ऑडिटर सर्कमस्टेंसेस की डिपेंडिंग ऑन दैट they will decide and they will disclose. This will be between basis of opinion, going concern and responsibilities of financial statement. Responsibilities of financial statement, ये किसका होता है? Responsibility of financial statement management का होता है. So management का क्या क्या responsibility? The section is responsibility for financial statements. For management internal controls maintain करना है, अच्छे से फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट प्रिपेयर करके देना है, and unrestricted access to auditor. The same has been mentioned. See, included in section responsibility as per SA 200, where management and TCWG where appropriate, those charged with governance कहते हैं. Those charged with nothing but independent directors, audit committee and all. Where applicable, those charged with governance should accept the responsibility for preparation of financial statements and internal control currently in force in organization. Should establish an internal control for efficient, timely preparation of financial statement and must include the responsibilities. Auditor should include those responsibilities which helps the users to premise behind the users of audit report है. उन लोगों को भी समझना है कि ये responsibility किसका है, financials किसने prepare करना है, internal controls किसने maintain करना है. उसको समझने के लिए पहले हम मेंशन किया है एंगेजमेंट लेटर में, दो मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए। अभी यूजर्स को भी जो पढ़ेगा ऑडिट रिपोर्ट ही पढ़ेगा, उसको समझना पड़ेगा। समझने के लिए हम इधर भी डिस्क्लोज करेंगे जिसका रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है फाइनेंशियल मेंटेन करना, इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स मेंटेन करना। जो हियर द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स अकॉर्डिंगली दिस सेक्शन शैल मैनेजमेंट रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी फॉर preparation of financial statements, design and implementation maintenance of appropriate internal control system. You need to design, maintain and appropriate financial statement. You need to prepare financial statements in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework. Then you have also one more responsibility, going concern. Whether using of going concern has appropriate base. You need to management, first of all they have to determine, right, preparation of financial statements, whether assessing entity's ability to continue as going concern, and SA 210 auditor agrees management responsibilities, whether as per SA 210 they have disclosed the management responsibilities and they have agreed. As per SA 210 management agreed to the responsibilities in the form of written form agreement, they have to disclose. ऑडिटर रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज, सर अभी तक मैनेजमेंट का रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज समझ लिया यूजर्स ने, अभी ऑडिटर का रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज भी समझना पड़ेगा। ऑडिटर ने क्या क्या करना है, क्या क्या किया है, वो सब इधर आ जाता है। सो ऑडिटर, व्हाट आर द ऑब्जेक्टिव्स ऑफ ऑडिटर? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल एसए 200 में हम देखा है, एसए 200 में व्हाट आर द ऑब्जेक्टिव्स ऑफ ऑडिटर? To obtain reasonable assurance whether financial statements are free from material misstatements, state of affairs, whether they have been prepared in all material aspects in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework, and to issue a report to express an opinion through which auditor in accordance with standards on auditing. These are the responsibilities of auditor, and he has to state, he has to mention that he is giving an opinion which is based on reasonable assurance. It is not a high level of assurance, it is not absolute assurance, but it is a high level of assurance because it will give clear communication to the users of FS that it is done on materiality basis. Then next step you will describe what is materiality. You will also disclose that there might be some undisclosed misstatements, undiscovered misstatements. See, describe, state that there might be some misstatements due to fraud and error. Describe that considered materiality, you have considered audit on materiality, either individual audit that could influence. Provide the description materiality. See, state that the audit conducted might not always detect all the misstatements. The word itself you will clearly mention to the users to understand your audit report. You have conducted audit and you have not find misstatements, but you have also found that our procedure might not also detect some material misstatements. There might exist. We cannot guarantee, that is we are issuing reasonable assurance. We cannot guarantee discovery of all frauds and errors. We have not performed any investigation. We have done an audit. We are not writing all that, but our opinion is, our intention of writing this is that we have obtained reasonable assurance, which is high level of assurance. We are satisfied with it. That is why we are expressing opinion. After this also there might be some undiscovered misstatements which could be material. This we are expressing. Then after that we will give materiality definition. Materiality that could influence the decisions of users of FS either individually or in aggregate. The definition and description of materiality in accordance with applicable FRF. How we have determined your materiality in this case. In addition to that, auditor will also what he has done. He will describe, I have to conduct audit in accordance with standards on auditing. That is what state that as a part in accordance with SS, auditor has accessed. I have accessed professional skepticism, professional judgment, professional behavior throughout my audit and have maintained the same. You will explain that you have done your responsibilities correctly. And what are your responsibilities? You have maintained your ethics. First you will describe your responsibilities are to understand. Then what you have to do? First you have to understand. You will determine the control environment. You will determine the risk assessment. You will understand the risk. You will determine appropriate procedures. You will plan and perform the procedures. You will obtain, evaluate the audit evidence. You will express an opinion. That is what disclosed in all these lines. Identify and assess the risk of material misstatements. Obtain understanding of internal control. Evaluate appropriateness of accounting practices being followed and reasonableness of estimates. Then comment on appropriateness, management, use of going concern. As per SA 570, you will test it based on the indicators, and you will comment on the management use of going concern in going concern area. We have discussed the prior line item, prior heading, going concern related heading. There you will disclose that if there is any uncertainty, if you while testing the indicators, if you found any uncertainty and that is not resolved by the management, then you will definitely disclose here. You will comment here. अदर रिपोर्टिंग रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज अभी डिस्क्लोज किया है. अब पहले आपसे बात किया है ना ब्रांच ऑडिटर का ऑडिट क्या है ओपिनियन एक्सप्रेस करते समय जॉइंट ऑडिट में अगर कोई डिफरेंट ओपिनियन है तो ऐसे डिफरेंट ओपिनियन है. एक ब्रांच ऑडिटर ने इस ब्रांच को ऑडिट किया है, सारा डिटेल्स मेंशन करने के एक एरिया होता है ना, वो यही एरिया है अदर रिपोर्टिंग रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज. कैरो यही आता है. अगर कोई स्टैट्यूटरी रिक्वायरमेंट्स बोला है ना पहले, कंपनी एक्ट का ये रिक्वायरमेंट्स है, इस एरियाज में रिपोर्ट करना है. अगर कोई एडिशनल रिपोर्टिंग रिक्वायरमेंट्स है वो इस एरिया में आता है. अदर रिपोर्टिंग रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज और रेगुलेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट, स्टैट्यूटरी रिक्वायरमेंट. कैरो इज स्टैट्यूटरी मैंडेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट एज पर कंपनी एक्ट. जो कंपनी एक्ट के प्रोविजन के अंडर रिपोर्ट करना है वो भी रेगुलेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट है. वो एसएस के हिसाब से भी रेगुलेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट होता है. जो एसएस के हिसाब से रिपोर्ट करना है वो भी इधर आ जाता है इस एरिया में. दिस वेयर ऑडिटर एडिट्स हियर. सिग्नेचर ऑफ ऑडिटर. सिग्नेचर के साथ साथ क्या क्या मेंशन करता है ऑडिटर. If he is a firm of auditors, he will mention that I am signing on behalf of my firm. फॉर्म का FRM नंबर मेंशन करेगा और इसका नाम मेंशन करेगा, साइन करेगा, मेंबरशिप नंबर मेंशन करेगा. नेक्स्ट प्लेस वेयर he is signing and date of audit report, on the which date he is signing the audit report. These are the basic contents of audit report. I hope you got a brief understanding what are the contents are. So अभी तक तो देखा है. अभी कैरो मतलब कंपनीज ऑडिटर, ये एडिशनल रिक्वायरमेंट क्यों आया है. जो ऑडिट रिपोर्ट स्टैंडर्ड्स ने प्रिस्क्राइब किया वो इतना एक्सटेंसिव नहीं है कि यूजर्स ऑफ एफएस को इतना डिटेल्स नहीं दे सकता है. इसीलिए कैरो का डिस्क्लोज किया है. कैरो इसकी वजह से आया है कि ये थोड़ा डिटेल डिस्क्लोजर दैट ऑडिटर हैज चेक्ड एंड ऑडिटर विल रिपोर्ट व्हाट ही हैज वेरीफाइड. वी हैव वेरीफाइड एंड वी हैव मेजर इश्यूज होता है ना, जो एरियाज है यू विल फाइंड ऑटोमेटिकली इफ देयर आर एनी मेजर इश्यूज प्लीज डिस्क्लोज हियर. द कैरो इज डिटरमाइंड इन सच अ वे दैट इफ यू हैव फाइंड एनी मेजर इश्यूज रिलेटिंग टू दिस, if there is any disagreement with auditors, there is some statement. If it is not true in your case, kindly comment how it is not true, what are the defects on it. Like that, every situation they have given some guidelines, what you need to check, how you need to check, whether proper records have been maintained. It is like question and answer, whether proper records have been maintained. Yes, then you need to report has they have maintained proper records. You will mention like that. Whether proper timely basis में audit किया है, any discrepancies properly dealt. Yes, they have conducted timely audit. They have any discrepancies, they have been properly dealt in the books of accounts. Whether any title deeds have been held in the name of the company or any other person, whether the same has been disclosed in the account. Yes, the same has been properly disclosed in the account. The same auditor will check, he will report in the CARO report. So the applicability of CARO report, it will applicable to all companies, every company, including foreign company. But there are certain exceptions. What are those exceptions? CARO will not applicable to certain companies. These exceptions are important. You can obtain a question from this. This is important. Okay? CARO, what बैंकिंग कंपनी को अप्लाई नहीं होता है, इंश्योरेंस कंपनी को भी अप्लाई नहीं होता है, नॉन प्रॉफिट कंपनी को भी अप्लाई नहीं होता है, 1% कंपनी को भी अप्लाई नहीं होता है, नॉन प्रॉफिट कंपनी लाइसेंस अंदर सेक्शन 8 मतलब नॉन प्रॉफिट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एंड 1% कंपनी को भी अप्लाई नहीं होता है. ये चार की अलग से प्राइवेट कंपनी को भी अप्लाई नहीं होता है, सब्जेक्टेड टू सर्टेन लिमिट्स. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कंपनी को इसमें ऐसा नहीं एक्सेप्शन दिया है इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कंपनी को। इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कंपनीज को उसका अलग से फाइनेंशियल्स दिया है ना। वैसे और बैंकिंग कंपनीज को भी कंपनी एक्ट एनबीएफसी को अप्लीकेबल होता है मेरे हिसाब से। सी इफ दे आर कवर्ड इन इलेक्ट्रिसिटी ईयर एक्सेप्शन तो नहीं दिया है। I think I will check and get you know on this. I think it will applicable to electricity company if it is registering as a company under ROC. Whatever auditor as an audit you are doing, you have to report these are the basic elements relating to financial statements. I think there you should mandatorily required to electricity companies it will be applicable. I think so as of now. Make it as applicable. I will confirm it tomorrow. Next class. Private limited company, there have been some limits. Let us see those limits. Here we are dealing with exception. Okay, first see this. So if all the three criteria are within the limit, not applicable, it is exempted. But if any criteria is more than the limit, then CARO becomes applicable. Got it? Here we are talking for exceptions. इसलिए इधर we are discussing that all the three conditions should be satisfied for exemption. Exception to apply, you need to satisfy all the three conditions. What are the three conditions? Paid up share capital less than 1 crore. Or this 1 crore you will see as on balance sheet date. Okay. And borrowings less than 1 crore. This during at any point of the year. A important hai, at any point of the year. And turnover less than 10 crores. Turnover means overall during the period, whole period, throughout the period. If three conditions are satisfied, if it is within the limits, not applicable, exception applies. If any condition violates, all the three conditions will not getting satisfied, then CARO auditor needs to comply with CARO report. So suppose borrowings are more than, in this case 3 are not satisfied because borrowings are more, then CARO report applies. Okay. So what are there are 21 areas, 21 headings where CARO applies. First of all, we will list out all the headings, then we will see one by one. Okay? No, first we will discuss, then at the end we will see all the headings. This will be good. Non-current assets, fixed assets, immovable properties कुछ भी है, उसके बारे में इधर ऑडिटर क्या चेक करके क्या अपडेट करना है यूजर्स ऑफ ऑडिट रिपोर्ट को। पहले क्या चेक करना है, whether proper records have been maintained by the company, whether proper records including quantities, details and situation of plant, property and equipment. Suppose ये asset है, ये asset situated in classroom number 1, all the details should be mentioned in proper records, then only you can contact whether proper records have been maintained. Then whether the plant, property, equipment has been physically verified by the management at reasonable intervals. You will check whether management is conducting at reasonable intervals. And if any material discrepancies were noticed, whether on such verification, whether the same have been properly, I have verified this bench is not there. Now what we have to do? It should be written off to P&L. This is not available in your no more in your company. You are unable to trace this. Then what we have to do? The material discrepancy should be properly dealt, whether written off to P&L or something they have to do. Whether they have been properly dealt in the books of accounts or not. You have to check. Whether the title deeds in case of immovable property, whether it is in the name of own company. Normally it should be in the name of own company. Whether it has been secured to any person, it has been mortgaged to any person. Whether if the same, if not in the name of the company, whether the same have been, if not, if they have been in the name of the company, you just, all the title deeds are in the name of the company. There are no cases where title deeds are not in the name of the company. If not, whether the proper details have to be disclosed by the auditor in prescribed format. एक format बना के, these are the properties where not in the name of the company, we have not found the details in the other person name whose name they were present. Why, what reason they have been mortgaged, you have to mention the reason and you have to prepare it and you have to attach below this. The details have been attached below, like that. whether the company have been revalued its plant, property and equipment. Some cases we will follow PPE revaluation method. In case of revaluation, whether the revaluation change is more than 10%, the difference is more than 10%, whether the revaluation variation is more than 10% in each class variation, you need to disclose the same. Here the valuation has been done by registered valuer. The valuation is done by registered valuer, and specifying the amount of change you need to mention whether it is done, and you need to specify the amount of the change if change is more than 10% in aggregate asset class wise. If your furniture class, if the valuation is more than 10% based on the register valuation, you need to mention amount there, the revaluation difference. Whether बिनामी, you know right, बिनामी मतलब आपके अंडर मैं एक एसेट होल्ड कर रहा हूँ, पूरा पैसा आपने दिया है, एक्चुअली एसेट आप खरीदना है, आप में ज़्यादा हो रहा है, आपके बिनामी में मुझे रखा है, मैं आपके बिनामी के अंदर मैं आपका एसेट्स को होल्ड कर रहा हूँ, मेरे पास कोई प्रॉपर्टी नहीं है, सिर्फ आपका ज़्यादा प्रॉपर्टी हो रहा है इसलिए मेरे नाम पर रख रहा है, ये बिनामी. ऐसा कुछ एलिगेशंस कंपनी में इंजाम लगा हुआ है क्या, ऐसा है तो उसको अप्रोप्रिएटली, वेदर कंपनी हैज अप्रोप्रिएटली डिस्क्लोज द डिटेल्स इन फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स, यू विल वेरीफाई दैट वेदर दे हैव बीन डिस्क्लोज्ड. कंपनी फॉर होल्डिंग एनी बिनामी प्रॉपर्टी अंडर बिनामी ट्रांजेक्शन, किसी के बिनामी के अंडर एक्ट किया है कंपनी ने, वो पूरा इन नॉन करंट एसेट्स का है. 5 पॉइंट हमने डिस्क्लोज किया है, ये 5 पॉइंट का वेरिफिकेशन करके ऑडिटर रिपोर्ट देना है. You cannot avoid this point, that is what I am mentioning. When the auditor is mentioning CARO, he has to, whether they are looking good, he has to report that they are looking good. If there are discrepancies, according to the CARO report mentioning, they have to report the details also, if there are any discrepancies. That is what the CARO report is. Inventory. So, inventory is the same, they are asking whether the management is maintaining proper records, whether they are maintaining reasonable interest, they have conducting physical verification, whether any discrepancies by 10% or more for each class of inventory, whether they have been properly disclosed in books of accounts or not, they will mention this. And next, in case of working capital more than 5 crores, I think, yes, 5 crores here, every 50 lakhs के ऊपर अगर आपका वर्किंग कैपिटल ज़्यादा है तो आई थिंक कंपनी वर्किंग कैपिटल मतलब क्या है, ओडी, ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी. बैंक्स विल गिव ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी बेस्ड ऑन इन्वेंटरीज, ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स, ट्रेड पेबल्स, करंट एसेट्स माइनस करंट लायबिलिटीज. वर्किंग कैपिटल ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी देता है, उसके लिए उन लोग रिटर्न्स लेता है एवरी क्वार्टर. अगर 50 लाख के ऊपर है तो बैंक रिटर्न लेता है. नाउ दे आर रिक्वेस्टिंग अस टू वेरीफाई whether the quarterly return submitted to banks, whether they are matching with your records, books records. You got it right? Normally क्या होता है, बैंक्स के लिए हम एडिट करके देता है, हमका ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी चाहिए, हमारे स्टॉक डेटर्स है या नहीं है उसके हिसाब से नहीं, हम थोड़ा एडिट करके देता है. अभी वो नहीं चलता है, क्योंकि अगर आपको कैरो रिपोर्ट अप्लीकेबल है तो आपका स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिटर क्या करेगा, दोनों का वेरिएशन चेक करेगा. अगर वेरिएशन है तो फिर बैंक्स आपको, आप में यू हैव सबमिटेड ए रॉन्ग रिपोर्ट, ऑडिटर में यू हैव सर्टिफाइड ए रॉन्ग रिपोर्ट, वही होता है ना. इसकी वजह से अभी ये नहीं चलेगा, ये कैरो आने के बाद ये डिस्क्रिपेंसी इंक्लूड किया है. क्वार्टरली रिटर्न्स के साथ क्या करना है, वेदर द क्वार्टरली रिटर्न्स फाइल्ड बाय द कंपनी विद सच बैंक्स आर इन एग्रीमेंट विद बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स. क्वार्टरली रिटर्न, सपोज ऑन 15th March I have filed my stock records to bank, whether the stock records have been on the 15th March should match with my books, whether the same has been filed with the banks or not. If there is any discrepancies, the person who has certified these stock records will be in trouble, I will be in trouble at the end, statutory auditors. He will directly mention that they are not matching. So investments, next. So investments providing guarantees, grant of loans. What we will check here as an auditor, whether company is giving any loans or not. Normally what the company has to do, whether if any loan is given, if should be in the interest of the company, the schedule should be, interest schedules, repayment schedule should be properly determined. If it should be in the, and the repayment should be coming in time, whatever as per schedule, and if there is any overdue payments, appropriate action should be taken by the company. Those are cases whether appropriate actions has been taken by to recover the amount, whether during the year company has provided any loans to in the nature or stood any guarantees, either in the nature of advances or in the nature of guarantees, not whose principal way. It is not applicable. This clause is not applicable to those people who are इन्वॉल्व इन एडवांस, मतलब लोन्स का उसका अगर बैंक है तो उसका लोन्स देना ही उसका बिजनेस है, अगर इसमें तो सारा आ जाता है। इसकी वजह से ये बोल रहा है, सॉरी बैंक्स का अप्लीकेबल नहीं है। अगर कोई कंपनी वैसे बिजनेस कर रहा है लैंडिंग एंड, उसको अप्लीकेबल नहीं है ये क्लॉज। ये चेक करेगा कि एग्रीगेट अमाउंट आउटस्टैंडिंग एज ऑन द बैलेंस शीट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू लोन्स एंड एग्रीमेंट टू सब्सिडरीज। अब सब्सिडरीज के साथ इसको मैच करना है, एग्रीगेट अमाउंट जो आउटस्टैंडिंग है हमारा बैलेंस शीट में कितना है और सब्सिडरीज या इसके साथ बैलेंस शीट में मैच हो रहा है नहीं। बैलेंस आउटस्टैंडिंग एग्रीमेंट ड्यूरिंग द ईयर, द बैलेंस आउटस्टैंडिंग एट द बैलेंस शीट डेट such loans and advances to other parties. So how will you agreement? Aggregate amount of outstanding. You have to disclose two related parties, to our subsidiary associates and to other parties other than subsidiary associate holding companies. You have to disclose like this. Aggregate amount outstanding as on the balance sheet date. Okay. Next, whether any investments are made are not prejudicial to the interest of the company, whether the terms on which they have been issued are not prejudicial, you need to report. They have been not in favor of the company, the terms and conditions. I have already explained you. I have given you a loan where you have to pay me 1% interest rate. This is not favorable to the company but favorable to you. Those cases, the auditor has to check and disclose. In respect on any loans, nature of loans, payments, schedule of repayments, where repayments have been stipulated and whether the receipts are regular. जो repayment schedule stipulate किया है या नहीं है, stipulate किया है उसके हिसाब से हमको receipts आ रहा है या नहीं। EMI schedule 2 lakhs per year, sorry per month, ऐसा repayment schedule हमको आ रहा है या नहीं आ रहा है वो चेक करना है। If any overdue for more than 90 days, whether proper action has been taken by the company to recover the principal and interest. Whether any advance has been fallen due during the year. आप क्या किया है, आप इतना चला करके आप खुद लोन एक्सटेंड करके उसका ड्यू हो गया, नया लोन देके उसका जो ड्यू हो गया ना उसको रीपेमेंट करवाया है, ऐसे कुछ केसेस किया है क्या कंपनी ने, वो भी ऑडिटर ने चेक करना है। मतलब ओवर ड्यू हो रहा है 90 डेज के ऊपर जा रहा है, आप क्या किया है 30 lakhs ओवर ड्यू में जा रहा है 90 डेज में, आप क्या किया है एक 30 lakhs फ्रेश लोन सैंक्शन करके आपसे उससे रिकवर कर दिया है, पेमेंट रिकवरी क्यों किया है ये इसमें नहीं आएगा, इसकी वजह से किया है, ऐसा कुछ किया है क्या कंपनी ने, वो भी ऑडिटर ने चेक करके बताना पड़ेगा। वेदर द कंपनी हैज ग्रांटेड लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस इधर रीपेबल ऑन डिमांड टू, किसको दिया है डायरेक्टर्स और प्रमोटर्स और रिलेटेड पार्टीज, उसको ऑन डिमांड लोन्स दिया है क्या, कुछ उसको डिस्क्लोज किया है क्या, अप्रोप्रिएटली डिस्क्लोज एनी एग्रीमेंट ऑफ रीपेमेंट रिपेबल ऑन डिमांड विदाउट एनी स्पेसिफिक टर्म्स ऑफ रीपेमेंट, कैसे रिपे करना है कब रिपे करना है ये कुछ नहीं बताया, रिपेबल ऑन डिमांड ऐसे लिख के दिया है। कब डिमांड करेगा हमको पता नहीं है, आपको पता नहीं, कोई किसी को पता नहीं होगा, मैनेजमेंट चेंज हो गया, वो एक्चुअली क्या करना है वेदर स्पेसिफाई द एग्रीमेंट अमाउंट ऑफ लोन्स ग्रांटेड टू प्रमोटर्स एंड देयर रिलेटेड पार्टीज, कितना वो ऑडिटर ने मेंशन करना है। ऑन डिमांड लोन्स प्रमोटर एंड रिलेटेड पार्टीज को कुछ दिया है क्या, ऑन विच देयर इज नो स्टिपुलेटेड रीपेमेंट शेड्यूल, कैसे रीपे करना है वैसे शेड्यूल कुछ नहीं बताया है, वो ऐसे लोन्स कुछ दिया है। परसेंटेज ऑफ टोटल लोन्स ग्रांटेड और कितना अमाउंट किया है, वो टोटल लोन्स के परसेंटेज कितना है वो मेंशन करना है। लोन्स टू डायरेक्टर्स, नॉर्मली लोन्स टू डायरेक्टर्स नहीं देना है, कंपनी डायरेक्टर्स को लोन्स नहीं देना है, ये रिस्ट्रिक्टेड है। दैट इज व्हाई यू विल चेक वेदर द कंप्लेंट्स ऑफ इट प्रोविजंस 185 एंड 186 हैव बीन कंप्लेंट विथ। लोन टू डायरेक्टर तो नहीं होगा, इन्वेस्टमेंट मेड बाय द कंपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट कर सकता है, 186 के complaints है, whether the provisions of section 186 of Companies Act have been complied or not. 185 का complaints तो loans to directors नहीं होना चाहिए, किसी का केस में नहीं होगा. So whether the provisions have been complied or not, you need to check as an auditor, and you will, if the complied, yes, we have found, and the company has been complied with all the provisions of section 185 and 186, you can write that. एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ डिपॉजिट. डिपॉजिट्स क्या होता है? पब्लिक डिपॉजिट, पब्लिक से हम डिपॉजिट्स ले आए. डिपॉजिट्स कुछ पर्पस के लिए लेता है. वेदर यू हैव डिपॉजिट्स विल बी गवर्न्ड बाय प्रोविजंस ऑफ सेक्शन 73 टू पब्लिक डिपॉजिट्स. किस पर्पस वो डिपॉजिट्स जो लिया है, वेदर द प्रोविजंस ऑफ सेक्शन 75 to 76 of Companies Act have been complied or not. You have to check whether while receiving the deposits, and if there is any order, there is no contravention to those provisions, first you will check. If there are any contravention, you will first of all mention we found that there are contravention to provisions of section 73 or 76, कुछ तो कुछ mention करेगा. Next, if there is an court order, कंपनी लॉ ट्रिब्यूनल का कुछ ऑर्डर्स है, वो कंप्लाई किया या नहीं. नॉर्मल केस में नहीं है, अगर कुछ स्पेशल केस है, कुछ कंपनी की NCRT नेशनल कंपनी लॉ ट्रिब्यूनल का कुछ ऑर्डर्स है, वो भी कंप्लाई किया या नहीं, कंप्लेंट चेक करना है. कंप्लाई नहीं किया, आप इसमें रिपोर्ट करेगा वेदर द सेम इज नॉट कंप्लाइड और नॉट. मेंटेनिंग कॉस्ट रिकॉर्ड्स, अभी तक हम पढ़ा है ना, 148 एप्लीकेबिलिटी 35 करोड़, रेगुलेटेड नॉन रेगुलेटेड सेक्टर, अगर वो अप्लीकेबल है तो कॉस्ट रिकॉर्ड्स मेंटेन करना है, कॉस्ट रिकॉर्ड्स को ऑडिट करवाना है. वेदर अप्रोप्रिएट कॉस्ट रिकॉर्ड्स हैव बीन मेंटेन्ड बाय द कंपनी और नॉट एज स्पेसिफाइड इन सेक्शन 148 ऑफ कंपनीज एक्ट. उस हिसाब से आपको ऑडिटर को रिपोर्ट करना है, प्रॉपर कॉस्ट रिकॉर्ड्स हैव बीन केप्ट. बेस्ड ऑन द कॉस्ट ऑडिटर्स रिपोर्ट यू कैन अपडेट हियर. And you cannot, that is what it says, if you are believing on someone's report, you need to satisfy yourself, then only at the end you as an auditor will take the responsibility. Statutory dues, up to now it's okay, compliance you just checked whether proper records, but here onwards it is purely financial. Statutory dues, statutory dues में क्या चेक करेगा? There are two, disputed, undisputed. Disputed में अगर more than 6 months overdue deposits को, suppose I have a GST liability on September, at the year end it is more than 6 months, sorry मान लो जुलाई का GST liability हम disclose नहीं किया है as a company, क्या applicable है तो you need to disclose that. There are statutory dues for August month which is undisputed, it is not deposited, more than 6 months undue है, वो auditor क्या में mention करना है. अनडिस्प्यूटेड है. अगर डिस्प्यूटेड है मोर देन 6 मंथ्स और ड्यू है तो रिपोर्ट में मेंशन करना है. सी इट वाज मेंशन इफ द कंपनी इज रेगुलर, वेदर द कंपनी इज रेगुलर इन डिपॉजिटिंग अनडिस्प्यूटेड टैक्स ड्यूज, स्टैट्यूटरी ड्यूज, प्रोविडेंट फंड, एम्प्लॉय सेल्स टैक्स, वेल्थ टैक्स, कस्टम ड्यूटी, स्टैट्यूटरी ड्यूज, and if not next and arrears of outstanding, suppose here 6 lakhs arrears are there August महीने का, the arrears of the as on last day of the financial year, that is on 31st financial year last date, more than 6 months as on last date, if you calculate they have to pay it on 12th August, suppose 10th August, sorry 20th August, but as on 31st March it is more than 6 months overdue, more than 180 days overdue. Those overdues which are more than 6 months overdue, those you will report on in your CARO report. And in case of disputed, the nature of the dues, the forum where the dispute is pending, you will mention that. In case of dues, income tax where have not been deposited, कुछ disputes होता है वो deposit करने के बाद ही dispute कर सकते हैं. मतलब पहले आप amount एक गवर्नमेंट को पे करें फिर dispute अप्लाई करो, अगर वो आप विन हो गया तो आपको रिफंड मिल जाता है. अगर उस केस में नहीं होता है क्योंकि आपने पहले पे किया है फिर डिस्प्यूट कर रहा है, ये किस केस में बोल रहे हैं? नॉट डिपॉजिटेड एंड देयर हैज बीन डिस्प्यूट, देयर यू हैव टू मेंशन द फॉरम वेयर द अमाउंट इन्वॉल्व्ड एंड द फॉरम वेयर द डिस्प्यूट इज पेंडिंग. गुवाहाटी हाई कोर्ट, सपोज फॉर एग्जांपल I have a sales tax dispute in Guwahati High Court of 6 crores. That you will, the same will be mentioned here. There is a dispute, 6 crores of sales tax at Guwahati High Court. Amount I have mentioned, no amount involved in the dispute and forum where the dispute is pending. Disclosure of unrecorded income. What happens is sometimes we will avoid some disclosing some income in our income tax returns, for example, or otherwise while income tax authorities, while this come for inspection search seizure, they will identify some unrecorded income. Like that, in the current financial year, they have came for investigation and they have find some unrecorded income in your house or something in your company. There are some unrecorded income. So ultimately you need to pay tax on it. Unrecorded income, you have to pay tax on it. Ultimately it was finalized. But now as an auditor, as per Caro, how that unrecorded income is there now in the current financial year, that should be brought to books, right? Ultimately, last year example I will tell, my profit is 10 crores, but I have an unrecorded income of 1 crore. In the current financial year, when the income tax authorities, they have found that 1 crore, this unrecorded income is not brought to my books. But now, this as per Caro report, they are asking that whether that unrecorded income they have not disclosed priorly, whether they have been brought disclosed in the books of accounts, appropriately accounted during the year, whether the previously unrecorded has been properly recorded in the books of accounts. That auditor has to check whether there is any अनरिकॉर्डेड पेमेंट्स, सॉरी अनरिकॉर्डेड इनकम का टैक्स पेमेंट्स कुछ हुआ है क्या, वो बुक्स के में इनकम डिस्क्लोज करके किया या नहीं किया है, वो चेक करना है. रीपेमेंट ऑफ लोन, अभी तक लोन कंपनी ने दिया है उसके बारे में डिस्क्लोज किया. अभी कंपनी ने लोन लिया है, कंपनी लोन क्यों लेता है, कुछ पर्पस के लिए लिया होगा, नॉर्मल लोन लिया होगा. शॉर्ट टर्म लोन लॉन्ग टर्म पर्पस के लिए यूज कर सकते हैं क्या, शॉर्ट टर्म लोन, शॉर्ट टर्म लोन लॉन्ग टर्म पर्पस के लिए यूज कर सकते हैं क्या, क्यों रीपेमेंट में दिक्कत नहीं, लॉन्ग टर्म नहीं, लॉन्ग टर्म कर सकते हैं क्योंकि उसका रीपेमेंट का टाइम है. शॉर्ट टर्म का यूज करने से शॉर्ट टर्म का लोन्स का टाइम नहीं है ना, शॉर्ट टर्म को यूज करना है, शॉर्ट टर्म लॉन्ग टर्म को नहीं यूज कर सकते हैं. लॉन्ग टर्म अगर जरूरत है तो शॉर्ट टर्म यूज कर, बाद में अगर शॉर्ट टर्म लोन एक लेके लॉन्ग टर्म को, वही ये सब. वेदर कंपनी हैज फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन ऑडिटर विल आस्क वेदर देयर इज डिफॉल्ट फ्रॉम द कंपनी एंड इन रीपेमेंट ऑफ लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस. लोन्स लिया है उसका रीपेमेंट करने में दिक्कत है क्या कंपनी में, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. अगर है तो डिफॉल्ट रिपोर्ट करना है, कितना अमाउंट का डिफॉल्ट किया है, 100 करोड़ का पेमेंट नहीं कर पा रहा है कंपनी. वेदर द कंपनी इज डिक्लेयर्ड विलफुल डिफॉल्टर बाय एनी बैंक. विलफुल डिफॉल्टर मतलब इंटेंशनली दे डिडंट पे, they have money and they are not paying. Whether the company has declared by any bank as willful defaulter. अगर टर्म लोन लिया है, टर्म लोन मतलब कुछ पीरियड के लिए लिया है, मतलब कुछ पर्पस के लिए लिया होगा. वेदर द टर्म लोन हैज बीन obtained, if whether the purpose for which it is obtained has been utilized for that purpose or not. If not so, कितना अमाउंट अलग पर्पस के लिए यूज हुआ है, डाइवर्ट फॉर अदर पर्पस, and the purpose for which it is used, you need to report if you have observed. Whether the funds raised for short term purpose have been utilized for long term, whether the funds, then you need to report that these are the funds raised for short term but they have been used for long term purpose. Whether the company has taken any funds from entity or person, they are, so actually whether the company is to meet the obligations of सब्सिडरी शिफ्ट और डिटेल्स देयर. अगर कंपनी खुद का पैसा नहीं दे रहा है, बट खुद के पास पैसा नहीं है बट ये लोन लेके सब्सिडरी का हेल्प कर रहा है, ऐसा कुछ केस है क्या. मतलब कंपनी खुद का पैसा है, वो सब्सिडरी का हेल्प कर रहा है, वो अलग है. किसी और से लोन लेके हेल्प कर रहा है, तो ये क्या हो रहा है कि किसी और का पैसा, कंट्रोल ओवर दैट कंपनी, ये कंपनी में कंट्रोल एक्वायर करने के लिए किसी और आदमी का पावर यूज कर रहा है, ऐसा कुछ केसेस है क्या. मतलब whether the company has taken funds from any entity or, so I have no funds, if I want to acquire some shares in my subsidiary, what I can do, I will loan from A Limited, जिसके पास ये सब्सिडरी में इंटरेस्ट है, ऐसे मेरे थ्रू एक्वायर करेगा. वो वैसे कुछ लोन्स दे रहा है क्या, ऐसे फंड्स खुद के पास नहीं है, किसी और से लेके सब्सिडरी का हेल्प कर रहा है, दोनों डूब जाएगा ना. सब्सिडरी डूब गया दोनों डूब जाएगा, ऐसा कुछ कह रहा है क्या जॉइंट वेंचर्स कैल्कुलेट करने के लिए। इन द केस है तो किसका नेचर ऑफ अमाउंट, कितना अमाउंट सच ट्रांजेक्शन्स एंड अमाउंट इन ईच केस, किसको कितना हेल्प किया है। इफ कंपनी हैज रेज्ड लोन्स बाय प्लेजिंग सिक्योरिटीज, सब्सिडरीज का सिक्योरिटीज जो है वो प्लेज करके अमाउंट लेके, अमाउंट लिया है क्या कंपनी, then what happens ultimately if you are not able to pay the amount, your control subsidiary, your control will diluted, you need to ensure that, so that you need to mention all this. If you are not able to pay, you will to the lose the control. Then next, in case of fraud sorry IPO में क्या है कि इन केस ऑफ पब्लिक ऑफर में एक पर्पस के लिए पहले बोला है, प्रॉस्पेक्ट इश्यू करते समय एक पर्पस कोड करके इश्यू करेगा, अगर वेदर द फंड्स रिसीव्ड हैव बीन यूटिलाइज्ड फॉर दैट पर्पस और नॉट, you have to inquire, you have to check in as per companies act, in CARO also you need to report whether initial public offering में दो भी funds raise हुआ है, whether or applied for the purpose for which raised or not, if not the details and subsequent rectification, अभी ज़रूरत है इसकी वजह से यूज़ किया है एक अलग प्रोजेक्ट है, फिर बाद में जो उधर से रिसिप्ट आता है ना प्रोजेक्ट में, फिर उधर ट्रांसफ़र किया है, वैसे कुछ किया है क्या, पहले रिसिप्ट उधर को यूज़ किया है फिर बाद में रेक्टिफिकेशन किया है। सेम केस प्रेफरेंशियल अलॉटमेंट जो है, प्राइवेट प्लेसमेंट जो है, पहले जो शेयर होल्डर है उसको देता है, जो फंड्स रेस हुआ है वो जो पर्पस है उसके अलग कोई और पर्पस को यूज़ किया है क्या, उस पर्पस का जो बाद में कुछ रेक्टिफिकेशन किया है क्या, वो सारा डिटेल्स मेंशन करना है। और नेक्स्ट रिपोर्टिंग ऑन फ्रॉड, जो भी उधर मेंशन किया है सेम केस है, वेदर एनी फ्रॉड इज नोटिस बाय द कंपनी, वेदर इन्वॉल्व, हु आर दोज इन्वॉल्व, अमाउंट इन्वॉल्व इन फ्रॉड, वो सारा एडीटी फॉर्म से सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को 143 सबसेक्शन 12, whether auditor has considered whistleblower complaints, if any complaints are there relating to fraud or any other whistleblower complaints, whether they have been properly disclosed or not। निधि कंपनी ये अलग एक कॉन्सेप्ट है, क्योंकि ये निधि कंपनी में क्या होता है कि दो तीन लोग मिलके एक कंपनी बनाता है जो थोड़ा फंड्स बनाता है, कोई लोग से डिपॉजिट्स लेके, किसी को ज़रूरत है लोन्स लेके, एक बैंकिंग बिजनेस जैसे करता है, बट इट इज़ नॉट फॉर ऑल पब्लिक पीपल, एक कुछ ग्रुप करता है, वो कुछ ग्रुप सेल्फ हेल्प करने के लिए लोन्स लेते हैं, कुछ पहले कुछ 1 लाख फंड देते हैं, फिर सारा लोग जिसके पास पैसा होता है वो लोग आके डिपॉजिट कर देते हैं, जिस ग्रुप में किसको ज़रूरत है वो लोन लेते हैं, वो वैसे रन करते हैं बैंक जैसा ही, बट इट इज़ नॉट लिमिटेड टू ऑल द पब्लिक, इट इज़ ए पर्टिकुलर ग्रुप, निधि कंपनी। इसकी वजह से वो बोल रहा है कि 1 रुपी अगर उन लोग नेटवर्क फंड्स दिया है, आप में और कुछ और मिलके एक 5 लोग 5 लाख डाला है, 5 लाख इंटू 1 रुपये के लिए 20 रुपीज़, अगर 5 लाख इंटू 20 1 करोड़ तक हम कर सकते हैं, ये लिमिट है। अगर नेटवर्क फंड्स टू वो रेशियो है वो 1:20 के अंदर होना चाहिए, जो डिपॉजिट्स बाहर से एक्सेप्ट करेगा ना, बाहर मतलब अलग अदर पीपल से, नेटवर्क फंड्स का रेशियो 1:10 के अंदर होना चाहिए, उसके बाहर नहीं जाना है, वो चेक करना है वेदर इट इज़ विद इन द लिमिट और नॉट। एंड जो भी डिपॉजिट्स है वो इन्वेस्ट करता है, किसी और को लोन देता है, किसी और को इन्वेस्ट करता है, वो 10% जो है इमीडिएटली अनएनकम्बर्ड, मतलब टर्म डिपॉजिट्स में कुछ ऐसा नहीं डाला है, अनएनकम्बर्ड मतलब इमीडिएटली उसको रिकवर करके पेमेंट कर सकते हैं डिपॉजिट होल्डर को, वैसे 10% अनएनकम्बर्ड डिपॉजिट जैसे मेंटेन किया या नहीं किया है। अनएनकम्बर्ड मतलब नॉट सिक्योर टू एनीथिंग, नॉट अटैच्ड टू एनीथिंग, इफ देयर इज एनी डिफॉल्ट इन पेमेंट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, किसी डिपॉजिटर को डिफॉल्ट किया है पेमेंट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट में, वो ऐसे कुछ केसेस है क्या, डिफॉल्ट इन पेमेंट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट और रीपेमेंट ऑफ डिपॉजिट, ऐसा कुछ केस है कि तो वो भी डिस्क्लोज करना है। और रिलेटेड पार्टी ट्रांजैक्शंस अभी डिस्क्लोज किया है, रिलेटेड पार्टी ट्रांजैक्शन जो भी है, अगर वो कुछ लिमिट स्पेसिफाई करता है, उस लिमिट के ऊपर गया तो स्पेशल रेजोल्यूशन पास के शेयर होल्डर के अप्रूवल लेना है, नॉर्मली बोर्ड रेजोल्यूशन या ऑडिट कमिटी अप्रूवल से हो जाता है। वेदर द कॉम्प्लायंस विद सेक्शन 177 ऑडिट कमिटी एंड 188 रिलेटेड पार्टी ट्रांजैक्शंस, whether those sections have been complied in case of related party transactions or not, that auditor has to check। internal audit में क्या चेक करना है, whether proper internal controls have been maintained and the internal audit whether it commensurate with the size and nature of the entity, whether the internal audit जो है वो size and nature of the entity से commensurate कर रहा है, मतलब सही है, वो capable of detecting frauds and errors in the company process, whether how the internal audit reports have been used by statutory auditors, how they any remarks by the any reports by the internal auditors, how they have been used and considered by the statutory auditors, वो भी इसमें रिपोर्ट करना है. नेक्स्ट नॉन कैश ट्रांजेक्शंस. नॉन कैश ट्रांजेक्शंस नॉर्मली नहीं करेगा कंपनी. नॉन कैश ट्रांजेक्शन मतलब डायरेक्टर को मैं पेमेंट की तरह ये एक एसेट दे रहा हूँ, इस बिल्डिंग दे रहा हूँ. अगर वैसे कुछ नॉन करंट एसेट्स नॉन कैश ट्रांजेक्शन कर रहा है तो पहले शेयर होल्डर से अप्रूवल लेना पड़ेगा. वैसे वो 192 सेक्शन में कॉम्प्लेन किया प्रोविजंस ऑफ 192 प्रोविजंस को, उसमें भी कुछ लिमिट्स बोला है, उसके ऊपर नहीं जा सकता है. नॉन कैश ट्रांजेक्शन है, उसमें रिजर्व्स में इतना ही करना है, उसमें कुछ लिमिट्स है, उसके ऊपर नहीं जाएगा. वो प्रोविजंस ऑफ वेदर सेक्शन 192 हैव बीन कंप्लाइड और नॉट, वो चेक करना है ऑडिटर. रजिस्ट्रेशन बाय द कंपनी इन केस ऑफ नॉन बैंकिंग एनबीएफसी आरबीआई के अंडर आता है, whether RBI के अंडर whether they have been obtained registration under section 45A, whether they have been obtained registration after, and the registration is valid as on date, have been obtained and as on the financial year it should be valid as on the balance sheet date. वो चेक करना है इस वैलिड सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ रजिस्ट्रेशन. ओके, एज ऑन डेट वो रजिस्ट्रेशन लेना है, लिया है या नहीं, वो वैलिड है या नहीं, ये चेक करेगा. नेक्स्ट मान लीजिए कोर इन्वेस्टमेंट कंपनी है. कोर इन्वेस्टमेंट कंपनी का क्राइटेरिया होता है इतना इन्वेस्टमेंट ही करना है, इतना % रेवेन्यू अर्न करना है. वैसे कंपनीज कुछ है क्या, वो कंपनी है तो वेदर इट इज फुलफिलिंग द क्राइटेरिया ड्यूरिंग द पीरियड और नॉट. टू कोर इन्वेस्टमेंट कंपनी देयर आर सम क्राइटेरिया स्पेसिफाइड, इतना अमाउंट इन्वेस्ट करना है, वो इतना रेवेन्यू इंटरेस्ट से ही अर्न करना है, वो अमाउंट जो ले रहा है वो इंटरेस्ट रेवेन्यू करने के लिए वो डिस्क्लोज करना है, वो सारा इधर डिस्क्लोज करना है. कोर इन्वेस्टमेंट कंपनी है मैं, इसकी वजह से वो जो क्राइटेरिया है वो फुलफिल कर रहा है नहीं. वेदर ग्रुप कंपनीज आर हैज मोर देन CIC, अगर कोई ग्रुप कंपनीज है उसमें मोर देन 1 CIC है तो इंडिकेट द नंबर ऑफ CICs को इंडिकेट ऑडिटर करना है. एक्चुअली मोर देन 1 CIC नॉर्मली नहीं रहता है, इसकी वजह से अगर कुछ है तो इसको इंडिकेट करना है. कैश लॉसेस क्या होता है, कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट में नीचे जो आता है नेट कैश फ्लो, नेट कैश इनफ्लो, नेट कैश आउटफ्लो, वो अगर कोई फाइनेंशियल ईयर में आप प्रॉफिट दिखा रहा है बट कैश लॉस है, क्या हो सकता है कैश लॉस की वजह से, यू आर नॉट एबल टू मीट योर अपकमिंग लायबिलिटीज. इसकी वजह से अगर इफ यू हैव कैश लॉसेस इन द फाइनेंशियल ईयर एंड इमीडिएटली preceding financially, you need to disclose here the amounts. If so, state the amount of cash losses. Last 3-4 years अगर cash losses हो रहा है तो your company is going to die. Resignation of statutory, अगर कोई ऑडिटर रिजाइन करके गया है तो आने वाले ऑडिटर को एक NOC लेना पड़ेगा. NOC के साथ साथ कोई उसका फैक्ट्स ऑब्टेन करना पड़ेगा. क्या ऑब्जेक्शंस इश्यूज रेज्ड बाय कंसर्निंग आउटगोइंग ऑडिटर्स, किसकी वजह से वो बाहर जा रहा है, कुछ ऑब्जेक्शंस रेज्ड, कंसर्न्स कुछ है क्या, वो सारा चेक करना है एज पर द. और इंफॉर्मेशन फ्रॉम फाइनेंशियल एसेट्स एंड लायबिलिटीज, इट इज नथिंग बट वेरिफिकेशन ऑफ गोइंग कंसर्न assumption, whether on the basis of expected dates and financials, whether the management has prepared financials in such a way that the financial statements, board of directors plans, whether the auditor is of opinion that no material uncertainty, financial assets and payment of financial liabilities and other, the auditor to the knowledge that exist as on the date of meeting its liabilities. If the company is able to meet its liabilities, it is a going concern. If it is unable to meet its liabilities, financial liabilities, it is not a going concern. The simple, it was mentioned that there is no question for the management under, there is no aging, expected dates of realization of financial assets are not based on the aging and expected realization of financial assets. There is no question in management mind that the doubt of payment of upcoming liabilities within the period of 1 year. 1 year के बाद है तो नेक्स्ट ईयर देखा जाएगा. विद इन 1 ईयर तो कुछ नहीं है, गोइंग कंसर्न एजम्पशन यूसेज इज करेक्ट। एंड अनस्पेंड CSR अमाउंट, अनस्पेंड CSR अमाउंट जो भी है, अगर कुछ नेक्स्ट ईयर में एक बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्ट करने को प्लान कर रहा है, वो क्या करेगा, एक विद इन पीरियड 3 इयर्स में इसको इंकर करना है। ये अब क्या करेगा, पहले स्पेसिफाइड शेड्यूल 7 अकाउंट में ट्रांसफ़र करना पड़ेगा, विद इन 3 इयर्स में इसको यूज़ करना पड़ेगा। अगर यूज़ नहीं किया है तो आफ्टर completing of the ongoing project, if any unspent amount is there, you need to transfer it to a special account in compliance with provisions of section 135(5). Whether in such way they have been transferred or not, if any unspent amount is there, you need to check and report. Qualification and adverse remarks, हम नॉर्मली अभी जो भी डिस्कस किया है ना, ये कंसोलिडेटेड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स में कैरो अप्लीकेबल नहीं होता है, ओनली स्टैंडर्ड ऑन फाइनेंस में ही कैरो देता है। बट इसमें एक इंक्लूड करता है कंसोलिडेटेड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स का सब्सिडरीज है, होल्डिंग है, उसका फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स में जो ऑडिटर स्टैंडर्ड लोन रिपोर्ट देता है ना, ऑडिट रिपोर्ट, उसमें कुछ एडवर्स क्वालिफिकेशंस रिमार्क्स डाला है क्या, वो इधर मेंशन करना है। वेदर देयर हैव बीन एडवर्स और क्वालिफिकेशन रिमार्क्स हैव बीन रेस्पेक्ट टू ऑडिटर ऑफ कंपनीज रिपोर्ट इंक्लूडेड इन कंसोलिडेटेड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट, जो कंपनीज आपका कंसोलिडेट हुआ है उसका एडवर्स रिमार्क कुछ दिया है क्या ऑडिटर्स, उसको आप इधर द डिटेल्स ऑफ कंपनीज नेम्स, पैराग्राफ नंबर्स ऑफ द क्वालिफिकेशंस एंड एडवर्स रिमार्क, कैरो रिपोर्ट कंटेनिंग एडवर्स रिमार्क्स, वो सब आप इधर मेंशन करना पड़ेगा। जिसका सब्सिडरी XYZ लिमिटेड, इसके अगेंस्ट ऑडिटर ने ट्रेड रिसीवेबल में ये रिमार्क डाला है, फाइनेंशियल कैरो रिपोर्ट में फिक्स्ड एसेट रजिस्टर सफिशिएंटली नॉट मेंटेन, ये रिमार्क डाला है। वो सब ऑडिटर ओपिनियन हो गया। नेक्स्ट क्लास में कुछ छोटे छोटे चीज़ है वो डिस्कस करके हम नेक्स्ट क्लास में कवर कर देते हैं। थैंक यू सो मच।